another episode of Whispers in the Morning. Tonight, we're going to continue our old Creepypasta series with one that was posted 14 years ago on Reddit. This is called The Lakehouse in New Hampshire. I often vacation at a relative summer house in a small lake in the woods that feeds from Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire. It's what you'd expect from a tiny, census-designated place along a 50-mile stretch of north-south highway. Mostly tiny bungalows and summer houses, some antique stores and old barns, one small grocery store, and a pub. My family have visited the town for a week or two every summer since I could remember, and I know the immediate area like the back of my hand, but it's still easy to get lost on the dirt back roads and end up in the thick of Maine's woods accidentally. Several years ago, I was vacationing at the Lakehouse and still awake reading around 2 a.m. Feeling kind of antsy, but not especially uneasy, I went outside for a cigarette and walked down to the dock to smoke it. To set the scene, the cabin is surrounded by trees on an old dirt road. The back door of the house opens to the dock, which is down a short but rather steep rocky hill. From the dock, you can see almost the entire way around the lake. While there are houses nearby, most of them remain unoccupied for the majority of the summer. I could see a light or two visible across the lake, and then the imposing shadow of the island about a half-mile ahead in the middle of the lake. The lights from faraway cars would twinkle far at the end of the lake, where the highway led to the closest real town. But everything was dark, and very quiet. As I was standing there, smoking like I had dozens of times before, I felt my skin begin to crawl. There was nothing apparent that caused it to happen, but I was struck by a sense of ill at ease. Without looking, I started to feel very strongly as though something was staring at me from a tree on my left about 100 yards away. But when I turned to look at it, it was gone, almost as though it anticipated the movement of my head turning and was able to move just a bit faster. My eyes were still adjusting to the darkness, and I convinced myself that I was only scaring myself. There was nothing there. As I continued smoking my cigarette, I never caught the movement again. In order to keep my vision on the tree where I sensed the movement, I had started backing up slowly from the dock. This was the last vacation with my family before I got married, and I suppose that it was one of my brothers playing a prank on me. Step by step, without turning my head, I backed up and turned my eyes to the extreme right. Now I saw something for sure. Behind the fire pit, next to some bushes. Knowing now that it was one of my brothers, I nearly broke out in a run for it. For some reason, I hesitated. Instead of turning towards it, I fixated my peripheral vision on it. What I saw was not my brother. It was short, hairless, had large, almond-shaped eyes, and was holding something. I saw it slowly lift a thin arm, reaching towards me, one finger outstretched as if to indicate, "That's the one." Now, I didn't believe that aliens existed then, and I don't even necessarily believe in them now. All I know is that what I saw was actually there and not a result of drug or alcohol use. I blinked my eyes twice, and the thing remained, still and quiet, holding a strange device to its chest and pointing at me. More curious than scared at this point, but with adrenaline pumping so hard that my temples hurt, I turned around quickly. My plan was to walk calmly back into the house, but when I turned, I sensed a flurry of movement from behind, perhaps a dozen or more trees, in the woods beyond the house, behind an old cabin to my right, further down the lake to my left. The woods were full of them, anticipating my every movement, watching me, but taking care that I could never get a close enough look. I then decided I had no choice but to book it. As I bolted, I could tell I was being chased very quickly and from all sides. The crunch of leaves from all around me was utterly deafening. I got to the porch and stopped, turning around quickly enough to see bald, gray heads of the pursuers duck just out of view. The woods immediately assumed an unearthly quiet that I had never before experienced. No crickets, no wildlife, no water lapping, no loons calling. I scrambled into the door and slammed it. Since we were children, my brother was interested in alien encounters. I remember him reading those creepy Whitley Strieber books as a kid. I planned on waking him up and asking for help, but when I got into the house, my mind went blank. I don't remember walking up the stairs to the bed. I never woke my brother, and the next morning, the sun filtering through the window, I noticed that I still had all of my clothes from the night before on. My brother told me the next day he'd seen a light hovering over the lake the previous night. In spite of the strangeness of the situation, he felt entranced by it, as though he couldn't look away. He had forgotten about it until I told my experience to him. We decided to go out the next night with flashlights to check it all out, but we didn't find anything. We did feel vaguely as though we were watched for the rest of our trip, a feeling that in subsequent visits to the cabin we have yet to be able to shake. That's tonight's story. We'll see you next time on Whispers in the Morning.